Yeah, I'm Clinton Ray. I'm Intu's recruitment director for the Middle East and Africa, but I'm based here in the UK, in Brighton. I work out of our head office in Brighton, although at the minute nobody's in our head office in Brighton and we're all at home.
Sounds familiar. So Clinton, can you tell us, we have talked to Laura Nye, who represents Intu US or covers the US universities. Will you tell us exactly how Intu works, what is Intu, and what's your relationship to the universities?
Yep. So Intu is now about 12 years old, and it was set up specifically to help international students get into university in the UK and then in the US, and also to help the universities that wanted to internationalize to increase their international student populations. The way Intu works is that we generally form a joint venture relationship with each partner university, and that means that we set up a new company that's jointly owned by Intu and by the university, and it's normally a 30-year partnership. So the idea is that this is a long-term relationship. It's not about, making a big splash in year 1 and 2 and then running away from it. It's a long-term relationship that we look to build student numbers together over many years.
Okay, fantastic. And I see behind you is a map of all the Intu UK universities. So can you run through a list, because we can't see all of the names, if you can run through a list of the universities that Intu works with in the UK?
Yeah, so we have very close partnerships with 10 UK universities, and I tend to find that my easiest way to remember them is to go from north to south, so it just works in my head. So starting with the furthest north, in Scotland we have 2 partners, that's Stirling University and Glasgow Caledonian University. Then in England we have Newcastle University. Actually coming south again, we go across to Northern Ireland for Queen's University Belfast. Then we work with the 2 big universities in Manchester, University of Manchester and Manchester Metropolitan University. And then down in London, we work with City University of London and also Newcastle University London. Then out in Norwich, we work with University of East Anglia. And then lastly, Exeter University in the southwest of England.
Okay, great. That's a great list of universities.
It's a very wide range of universities. There's everything in there from sort of, the really old Russell Group research universities to the modern new universities, big, small, a whole range.
And that's a very good point, because one of the things that I chat to students about is when they choose a university, they need to think about the lifestyle factors. Do they want to be in a city? Do they want to be in an older university? Do they want to be in a modern university? Do they like being in the countryside? And what is it about lifestyle that is most important to them when they choose university? Because we all know that a student learns best when they're happy where they're living.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I talk to students as well, and I always try and work out what will be the best fit for them. Where are they going to flourish? Where are they going to blossom? Where are they going to do best? And it's not just about rankings. It's about, as you say, do they want to be on a campus? Do they want that campus apart from a city, outside a city like at UEA or at Exeter? Or do they want to have a campus feel but be right in the centre of a city like Newcastle or Glasgow Caledonian? Or do they want to be absolutely part of the city where it's not a campus but it's different buildings, like City University London or Intu London or Intu Manchester? So it's about finding what's going to help the student make the most of their time in the UK.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And I also now, as you bring it up, so what I want to kind of get to now, and I'm sorry, I'm just kind of looking at my list here because I've got a whole lot of questions for you. But we cover quite a few markets. So we have offices in South Africa and Zimbabwe and Nigeria, and we also have sub-agents in Uganda and Swaziland, Eswatini. So what I wanted, and I know that we can't kind of touch on the entry requirements for every single market. So what I'd really like to do is I have people ask me, why do I go to INTU if I can go direct to one of the other universities? What are the advantages? So what I'd like to discuss with you is there are different levels of education. So in South Africa, we have the CAPS curriculum where people are getting the National Senior Certificate with 12 years of education. We have kids with an IB diploma, and we have kids who are doing either homeschool or in a private school that do the Cambridge curriculum, and we have kids actually also who do an American curriculum, and then our Zimbabwe market, similar, Nigeria, Uganda. So it's hard to touch on the entry requirements for all of them, but let's talk about what INTU offers as far as foundation, international year one, direct entry. So can we chat about that?
Yeah. So if you think about how the English system works, English school kids will do 13 years of schooling, and then the degree is 3 years. So if you come from a system where it's 12 years of schooling, you really, to be on a par with the English kids, you need to do an extra year to give the 13th year before you start year one of university. That's the foundation year. So for us, students who are coming from a 12-year system are normally best advised to do a foundation, because then they'll be the same age and have the same sort of level of preparation as students coming from an English high school. So that's the foundation year. That's an extra year pre-year one. Students who've done 13 years, if they've done IB or Cambridge A levels or the full 13 years, or some students who do very well in a 12-year system, they may be accepted for international year one or direct entry. Both of those mean they'll just do 3 years in the UK. Now, direct entry means you're going straight into university, exactly the same as every British kid who's come, from within the system onto university. And I always feel that for international students, that's a huge ask. Now, I remember when I went to university in Glasgow, and it was 30 miles away from where I went to school. But I felt the culture shock and the change of lifestyle, and having to learn to manage my own time and manage my own money and work out how to study at university. Coming from 30 miles, that was a shock to me, and I found it difficult. I can't imagine how a student will come from Africa, be virtually parachuted in straight to university alongside kids who've just come from next door, virtually, without any support. So there's a huge shock to the system there, and I think students who do direct entry very often, if they haven't done a full 13 years, they will find that a struggle for the first few months. And so that's why we have international year one for students who have done 13 years or who've done very, very well in the 12-year system. So in South Africa, if it's getting like 6s or 7s. The international year one gives them a cushioned, supported first year. It's not the extra year like foundation, but it's a supported year one where they then progress into year two, and they only have the 3 year for the English degree.
That's great. Great explanation. And I also, sorry, so say that again?
I would just say it's fairly complex because it's, as you say, it's different coming from the different systems. And it really means that, the students need to talk to a counsellor, like someone in one of your offices, to get a good view of what's available for them and to help them work out what's best for them.
Yes, and I really, as a mother of an international student, the opportunity that kids have now with like through into for the international year one to feel supported, I think just reduces that stress and anxiety, because it is a big culture shock. Even though they're going from English speaking to English speaking for the most part, there's still the culture shock and the, having to life, because honestly, 50% of university happens in the classroom and everything else is outside the classroom, and it's life. So so I want to just kind of go from here to the unique majors, perhaps, of the universities that you work with. So maybe there are some that are known for some, the highlights maybe.
Yeah. So British universities, there are lots of different types of universities. There are some that are, we have some of the oldest universities in the world that are over 500 years old. And then we have some that became universities less than 30 years ago. And as part of, within the Into range, we have all of those types of universities. So this time I think I might go alphabetically.
Okay.
It's a different way of looking at them. So City University in London is right in the heart of London. It's a real city centre university, and it's very well known for business. It has a very famous business school, so all sorts of business subjects are good at City. But it's also very good at other subjects like journalism. It's well known for aeronautical engineering, and then also actuarial science. So that even at City, there's that wide range of subjects that are covered there. Then Glasgow Caledonian University in Glasgow in Scotland is a very practical vocational university. So the degrees there tend to be very specific, but they're very career focused. And so there's a lot of work experience built into those. And so when the engineering at Glasgow is things like electrical power engineering or environmental civil engineering, they're also one of the UK's leaders in optometry. Again, very professional. And then a real area of strength for Glasgow Caledonian in Glasgow, but they also have campuses actually in London and New York, and you can mix and match where you study. But they have a real strength in fashion marketing and luxury brand marketing. So, and I do often think actually a lot of African students are coming to get their degree, and then they want to go back and they want to promote, their own brands or luxury brands. I think that's quite attractive for them there. In Manchester, which is one of the UK's biggest cities, Manchester Metropolitan University is very well known as a newer university for art and design subjects, and also things like hospitality management. Manchester's a very big student city, but also a very big tourist city as well. The other Manchester University, the University of Manchester, well, it's ranked globally 27 in the world, according to the QS rankings. And it's a world famous research university, part of the Russell Group. Manchester, at the university, that's where the work was done by Ernest Rutherford to split the atom.
Oh, right. Yes, of course.
And in fact, their international office is based in the building where the atom was first ever split.
Wow.
So there's a whole kind of pedigree there. So for subjects like engineering, science, it's a great university, but they also have a really good, very strong architecture school. And then they're strong in subjects like finance as well. Newcastle's also a Russell Group university, also a city university. The campus is based in the city. So again, huge research footprint, a lot of research leading the work there. Again, they've got a very good architecture school. We have a very good pathway into architecture there. very good for marketing and engineering. And I think one of their specialities is maritime engineering. Their business school is also triple accredited. So that's a great option for students who want to follow business. And then weirdly, I think, because it's a city centre university, outside the city, they have their own farm. So they have two subjects, yeah. So their agricultural degree is really strong at Newcastle.
They also have actually a very interesting agribusiness degree through their business school that I had a long discussion with David Lennon, who works at Newcastle in their international office, about the agribusiness degree, which I think is I think it should be a huge in the African market, in my opinion, just surrounding food security and business, food to market, food technology, all of those areas. I think it's a global degree, and it's a brilliant degree there. Yeah.
And so they have the farm where they can do the practical side of all of the agri degrees there. So that's Newcastle. Queen's University Belfast is also a Russell Group university, another old university. A few of these universities have buildings that are very Harry Potter-esque, and Newcastle's Queen's old building is absolutely gorgeous, and you do feel that you're as if you could be in Hogwarts. But actually in Belfast, that's a lot of the Game of Thrones was filmed in Northern Ireland.
Yes, of course. And the Titanic was built in Belfast.
Absolutely. And as they always say in Belfast, the Titanic was fine when it left. When it left Belfast, there was nothing wrong with it. But yeah, Queen's is a great university. Things like pharmaceutical sciences. They have a great pharmacy school. Again, the whole range of engineering. They have a very good aerospace engineering degree, and of course business. They also, again, have a very good architecture school, which is probably slightly more accessible than Newcastle, partly in that if you want to do the foundation in architecture, at Queen's you don't need a portfolio, but at Newcastle you'll already need a portfolio to get into the foundation.
Oh, that's a very good point. Okay, great, yeah.
University of East Anglia, which was Intu's very first partner. It's one of the most successful younger universities in the UK. It's a world leader, really, in areas like international development, but it's also very good for areas like, again, wide range across pharmacy, psychology, geology. Very strong focus at UEA on the environment. So they have very good degrees in environmental science and energy engineering with environmental management, which is, I think, looking at the future of energy, creating sustainable energy sources, which is important for us all.
Very important, of course, yeah.
And then Exeter is our final Russell Group university. Very highly ranked in areas like computer science, also law. We do get some law students from Africa, business and management, and Exeter, again, as Russell Group, all engineering universities, but Exeter is probably our best mining university. So students can do a degree in mining from Exeter. And then lastly, Stirling, back up in Scotland. Very well known for subjects like education, and that includes TESOL. So if people want to do degrees in teaching English to speakers of other languages, then that's the place to go. Also marketing, and Stirling is perhaps best known in the UK as a sports studies university. It's Scotland's sports university. It's where Andy Murray did a lot of his training.
Oh, of course, yes, yeah.
Yeah, his mother Judy still got university up there. So, and it's a beautiful campus university. So one of the modern universities.
And I think it's a point to just discuss also that the Scottish universities are 4 years, not 3 years, like the universities in England.
Yeah, so the Scottish universities are more similar to the American model, a little bit more freedom of choice once you start. I mean, I have to say with the English model, the 3-year degree tends to be very focused. So you're starting your major or your degree subject from day one. So you really should know what you're doing. And there's limited scope to change. So you need to decide what you're going to study before you start your 3-year degree. With the 4-year degree in Scotland, you do have that little bit more scope. It also means if you're a very high-flying student, or if you've done the full 13 years, it's the international year 1 in England would be the international year 2 in Scotland, and then you would go into the years 3 and 4. So
so there is the opportunity for that
Yeah.
in Scotland.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's a very good point. So I want to, we could discuss the various entry levels, but I don't want to get into that because that can be like quite a question. Because of the different markets that we're in, the different areas, the different education systems. But what I do want to ask about is scholarships and how do students qualify? What is the opportunity for scholarship money? Because that is obviously a question that we do get quite often.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing though to say is it's important for students to remember that studying in the UK is generally quite a lot less expensive than studying in America. Mm-hmm. So we have a smaller range of fees. You don't have the very expensive universities like we do in the US. So scholarships are possible, but they tend to be quite often smaller than American scholarships because you're not starting with such a high ticket price.
Yes,
yeah. They'll depend on partly the university you want to go to, but also your grades so far. But yeah, there are scholarships available, both the Into program, so there's scholarships for the foundation, but also scholarships for when you do progress to university.
Okay, so that's a good point. So that I'm glad you brought up is that Into as an organization has scholarships available if you're not going directly into university as a direct entry, and then when you so there's an Into scholarships and then university scholarships that.
Yes.
When you progress, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
So the universities will offer scholarships for direct entry for students coming straight to them, but also we have a separate special scholarships for students as they progress.
Okay, great. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about Into? Anything that I haven't asked you about that I've missed out on? I think that, it's from my perspective, Into's access to all of these universities is a big plus. Of course, we can process applications to any of these universities through our offices. But is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Well, I think maybe something that we didn't mention that's new for the UK is that they're calling it the graduate visa route, but it's post-study work that's coming back to the UK after many years of being away. And it's going to start for students who start studying from this autumn. So from 2020 onwards, if you complete a degree in the UK, you will be eligible for a 2-year work visa after your degree.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. That's a very good point, because that makes it a whole lot more attractive to study in the UK now.
Yeah, and with a lot of undergraduate degrees, that will maybe come after a year of internship that's part of the degree. So you might have a year of internship, which will then obviously help you make connections to get the work for the post-study work. But it also applies to master's students. And a master's degree in the UK is normally 1 year, 12 months. It's a very intensive 1 year, but it does mean that potentially you could come and do 1 year masters and then work for 2 more years.
Oh, wow. Yes, that's so a good point that I wanted to bring up also is that students who want to go to the UK, we're not talking about just undergraduate admissions. We're also talking about postgraduate admissions as well.
Yeah, and again, our universities have a huge range of postgraduate degrees, master's degrees, also PhDs we can help with as well. But the master's is very attractive because of that 12 months.
Yes.
The thing I would say for students is, with a 12-month program, you have to be ready to hit the ground running, to use a cliche. There's no room to spend 2 months settling in or to have the first term of I'm getting used to it. So you have to be ready to start working hard on day one. So we do have some pre-masters programs that can help that transition. But if you've come direct from university in Africa, in various countries you work in, just be ready to work from day one. It's a 12-month, very intensive course. But after that, you can then work for two years.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. And the pre-master's programs also very attractive for some of our students here. If they haven't completed an honors, there's still an opportunity to do a master's in the UK.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So Clinton, thank you so much for being with us today. And again, if there's interest in any of the INTO universities, we can help with processing applications. And then Clinton is always available to speak to students and support us. We are partners, we work together. So Clinton, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing more African students in our universities.